The season is in full swing as one game against Newcastle United finishes with a win. We are on to the next in a completely different competition, albeit domestic, against the same side, Newcastle United. This time away from home at St James's Park, a stadium in which we don't fare too well against. Coming into this game, of course, we a good win. A decent win, a very, very hard-fought win against a side that, let's be honest, we were definitely the better side in this game this past Sunday. 2-1 the final score. Before that, we scored, we won 3-2, so we're on a back-to-back run of wins against them. But also, let's not forget that in 2023, we also had a League Cup match against them. I think it was the semi-final, was it not? Am I mistaken? Am I correct? Let me know in the comments down below. But I'm looking here, and it was that game where Mikhail Mudryk, of all people, seemingly at the time, it seemed like he couldn't do anything right. And this appeared to be at the time the spark, the fire that we saw and hoped and prayed that this would be Mudryk's up-and-coming run of form. It wasn't to be, but hey, this could be the game for him to pull the strings, so to speak. He's been playing well lately, so who knows? We might see another masterclass from Muddy Mudryk himself. Callum Wilson with the first goal in that 16 minutes gone, but again, I want to preface 3 wins in a row against Newcastle. League Cup, 2 in the Premier League. It's a good run of form against them. Prior to that, we lost against them at St James's Park, and that is the last game against them that we played at their ground. A draw before then, but that was in the... Well, no, that doesn't even count. That was the Premier League Summer Series. Looking back, however, a Premier League loss in 2022, November of 2022. That was a 1-0 loss at St James's Park. We beat them, and then we beat them away from home the game prior to that, and that was a 3-0 win. James and Jorginho, the goal scorers in that game. And then we also beat them the Premier League game before that in St James's Park. So, but the point I'm trying to say is our run of form is it's a bit hit and miss. Certainly recently, it hasn't quite been as good as it was prior to the last 2 outings at St James's Park. Now, looking at their specific form, and of course, as we know, they're not on the hottest runs at the moment. They are now with 2 losses in a row in the league. Brighton, of which a team that we got a win against them. We obviously got the better of them this past Sunday. It doesn't bode well for them, to say the least. That game against Brighton was a loss at home for them. But before that, they hadn't lost in quite some time. In fact, I'm looking now, it was January of this year against none other than Manchester City. An Oscar Bob winner in the 90th minute was the difference maker. They did actually subsequently, well, not subsequently, but prior to that, lose their game before that to Nottingham Forest. But after that loss to Manchester City, they've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 games without a loss at home leading up to that Brighton and Hove Albion game, just 1 game before we played them. So again, their home record, it's nothing to really be scoffed at. They're decent. At home in the League Cup, I'm looking at here, it's a sea of green. So all the way back to 2021, they lost on penalties to Burnley. Got a win against Blackburn the game before that. 19-17, they lost to Nottingham Forest and to Leicester. So more recently than not, they're on a good run of form in the League Cup. Obviously, and we are going to get into it in just a second, is the lineup, the all-important lineup. And in fact, let's move over to the screen now. And here, as you can see, is a blank screen. Who do we go with in a game like this? Of course, we just come off of a game in which we've showcased against Panathinaikos on the European grand stage that is the European Conference League, a 4-1 triumph against Panathinaikos away from home as well. Let's not forget that the B team can do it away from home. And I mean, let's take a look, or I will take a look, and I'll tell you what I can see. But looking at our starting 11 in that game, I can't imagine it will be too dissimilar to what it was then. So I've gone with this game. I've gone Jorgensen in goal. Makes sense. He's on a good run of form in his respective competitions that he's been playing in. Sanchez obviously won't play. Axel Disasi at right back. I don't see James or Gusto, for that matter, making the squad in any way, shape or form, even on the bench for the most part. James definitely not. Maybe Gusto on the bench. Alongside him, we have, well, Renato Vega made the back two alongside Badiashile, who for me makes the back two. Again, I will say personally that Tosin deserves to start in this back two here. And who do you think, right? You've got Gusto, who I've said probably won't start. James, we saw him at left back in the game against Newcastle the other day, probably won't start. So you're probably thinking, it's got to be Cucurella, no? It's got to be Cucurella. And I don't think so. The only reason he didn't feature in the last game was because, in fact, I might be completely wrong here. What am I thinking? He came on as a sub, did he not? Cucurella in the game against Newcastle on Sunday. Yeah, because it was Gusto and James. Sorry, I'm thinking of a video I saw today where the Newcastle fans were singing, "You're just a shit Colaccini, shit Colaccini." And yeah, of course, he came off the bench in the 78th minute. But anyway, Mark Cucurella come off in that game. He didn't start in that game because he obviously played a full 90 against Panathinaikos after serving a suspension against, I want to say, well, he missed the game against Liverpool, so it would have been the game before that, whoever that was, Nottingham Forest. Of course, that for me leaves one person. I think Cucurella is going to be held for more important games coming up, Manchester United being one of them, Arsenal as well. Let's not forget Cucurella is on a good run of form. He's in the form of his life right now. So again, rest assured, I think we're going to be safe in the hands of Renato Vega at left back. We know he can go between and play in a more central role, but for me, Vega absolutely worthy and should start at left back. Moving forwards, with no real explanation as to why, but again, these two played with each other against Panathinaikos, so I don't see why they shouldn't start today, or in this game rather. Dewsbury Hall, he knows his role at this point currently, and that is most certainly in the cup games. Enzo has almost been, I don't know, I wouldn't say dropped, but he again is struggling he will struggle to feature. It might be too early to say he's struggling to feature in more Premier League games as of right now, obviously being captain for a lot of them. But I do think Lavia is going to cause quite the disturbance to him and his game time in the Premier League. Moving forward, and I've got, of course, Joao Felix in that Palmer role. Mikhail Mudryk on the left, which means you're probably thinking, well, where's Sancho? Where's Sancho? He hasn't played in the last two games. I have gone on Nkunku on the. I'm not going to go Pedro Neto. I'm not going to go Madueke. I am going to go Jadon Sancho on the right. I think he hasn't featured for quite some time now, and it's only right that he plays in a game like this to showcase his talents and arguably get a little bit more in favour of the manager in a game. In a season where he has otherwise been fairly uncriticisable. Is that the word? You can't. There's not much to criticise. Sometimes maybe a little underwhelming, but for the most part, very, very good. And you know, for whatever reason that he's been dropped, I'm sure he will fight for his position in a game like this when given the chance. Much like Mudryk has done as of late, but Pedro Neto more so has been one of those players that has showcased his talents in order to get more game time. So Jorgensen, Disasi, Tosin, Badiashile and Vega, Kane, and I keep almost saying Kevin De Bruyne, for Christ's sake. Kieran Dewsbury Hall with Enzo Fernandez, Joao Felix ahead of them with Sancho and Mudryk and Kunku up top. Predictions wise, and hey, let me know yours in the comments down below. Before we get into the predictions, please do like the video, subscribe, hit the bell notification to be notified of any future content on the channel. I don't know. The Blues will hope for a repeat of Sunday's win, of course, this time coming away from home. We have our top scorer in all competitions leading the line, hopefully, in Christopher Nkunku. If he's packed his balloon, you can bet your bottom bippy that he's going to have packed a few goals as well. I think Mikhail Mudryk will have a big impact. I think Sancho as well. That front three, they all have something to prove right now. And what better way to prove yourself than scoring goals and getting that dub. So, do you know what I mean? It's going to be an interesting game. I do think we're going to concede either way, but I do think Chelsea will come out on top and on to the next round, of course, before we face Manchester United. I'm going to go with a 2-1 Chelsea win. I think it'll be pretty much a carbon copy of the game on Sunday. But until then, again, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your predictions in the comments down below. Let me know your lineup if you are feeling partial. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, if I have it loaded up, it's 10 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. Thank you for watching. My name is Harry, up the Chelsea, and peace.